your son is actively dying.
You're getting bits and pieces because the doctors don't have all the answers.
Quintin's story is actually very unique.
Life can change in one split second, and then your whole entire life is different.
The universe could have just been like, you're not gonna make it, but you know, they said you're gonna.
Quintin was probably my easiest pregnancy. He came 3 weeks early. He was always my easiest, most super overachiever, with school and all of those things for his whole life up until Thanksgiving 2021 when it all changed.
That Thanksgiving was a great day. We had a lot of friends and family over.
I remember just having fun and then going to bed and thinking, I might have eaten too much, but it's whatever. That's why I thought I was nauseous. It was not that. I woke up in the middle of the night, that night, and then I was like, I don't feel good.
That night he started to not feel so good. The next day something was up. He was not coming down for breakfast. Mom made brunch. Breakfast in our house is a big deal. He was not coming down.
He woke me up every hour because he was vomiting, and he was like kind of very loud with it.
All I remember from then is just throwing up. And then I remember the burning from throwing up so much.
Now when it came to Saturday morning, that's when things turned.
He had vomited in the Tupperware, and it looked like there was coffee grounds in it. So we immediately knew that is something serious. We need to immediately go to Children's Hospital. So we got to CCMC. Luckily, we were the first ones in, and they took his vitals, and they got him in a room, and they came in and asked everything that was going on, did a whole lab workup. And so we were just waiting for the labs to come back, and they said, his levels are a little wonky. They kind of made it like, no worries, just a little wonky. We're gonna have to admit him just to see what's going on, but we need a COVID test before he's admitted to the ICU. And so then I was like, ICU? He said, your son is very sick. Your son's liver levels are higher than I've ever seen. They're off the charts. We don't have a liver team here at Children's. We're gonna have to transport you to Yale. And the doctor said, are you hearing what I'm saying to you? And I'm like, yes. And he goes, ma'am, your son is actively dying. He's in liver failure, and his kidneys are now failing too.
When the doctor said he was actively dying, it's tough to hear. And I saw what it was doing to my wife.
It was near death because when your outflow, the blood outflow from the liver is obstructed, it can cause obstruction of the inflow of the blood flowing into the liver.
Doctors came in and they said, Quintin has a disease called Budd-Chiari. It's a super rare disease. Children don't get it.
Budd-Chiari syndrome is a disease where you have hepatic vein outflow obstruction. Basically, the blood draining the liver is obstructed.
Your son needs a liver transplant. And I said, okay, there's no cure for it. Basically, if you don't do that, you're not going to live. He has a 3% chance of surviving it.
We had to decide very, very quickly, even for us here. We, met consecutive days at the end whether to decide whether we directly list him for transplant or we do a procedure that bypasses that obstruction. That's what we ended up doing.
They said, we're going to perform a TIPS procedure. They go in and they put a little shunt, it's an elbow-shaped little mesh shunt to bypass all the clots in his liver.
With acute liver failure, the stakes are higher. So in the ideal world, if you can stabilize somebody and do transplant at a time where they're stable, you probably will have better outcome.
The TIPS procedure, saved his life, but also have a lot of side effects. He has constant nausea every day, varying levels, no medication helps it at all.
Over the past 2 years, his quality of life has really been struggling because when you bypass the liver, you bypass the ability of the liver to take out a substance called ammonia, a toxic substance, and that can result in what we call hepatic encephalopathy. So it affects his concentration, his energy level.
The biggest one is the brain fog. That one is my worst enemy. It's every day. Like there's days where it sort of is like, oh, I feel more cognitive today. I can do more. And like even teachers at school will tell me like, oh, I can tell you're having a good day today.
He got his permit to drive. One day he'd go in and have a good day, and maybe where his levels were lower, and he'd have a great driving experience. And then the next day he'd go drive and it's like Groundhog Day. He like didn't even remember what was going on. So we're like, well, maybe we shouldn't go ahead and get this license.
Having a liver condition while going through like teenage years has been absolutely brutal and evil.
Obviously, at this point, we all believe that the next step would be liver transplantation.
I'm very much excited for the transplant. I'm just thinking about what's gonna happen after. I'm just excited for after. I'm like, I know the recovery is gonna be, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be difficult, but I've been through difficult.
Quintin told me that every morning he wakes up and hopes that today's the day that he gets the call. So that breaks my heart, because it's like every day that's his biggest wish to do. I want him to go to college and do amazing things that I know he's gonna do. But yeah, we pray for that call every day.